All right, we will now get started. So, Joanne, take it away.
So, hi, I'm Joanne Hellevery, and I am one of the academic liaisons at the Sheridan Libraries and Museums. And I just wanted to do a quick overview of the library and its resources for you. And to get started, these are the things I want to talk through today. So, who is your liaison? Some information about the library homepage, information about research guides, some search strategies, some research methods, citation managements, and then our data services department. So to get you started, you can see I've outlined a whole bunch of different people who are for all of the different programs within AAP. And you can see that I am the liaison for the communication department. And I've put in contact information for all of the different people so that you have an idea of who the person would be that you would contact for if you needed some help. And we are available to you. You can email us. You can set up a consultation with us. We'll meet with you for half an hour to an hour. If you send us the information you're looking for in advance, we can prep for that consultation and do some in-depth work with you. So I just wanted you to be aware of that information. So this is the library homepage, and I've started with the Get Materials, and I wanted to start with this Get Materials page because what we're looking at here is how you can obtain the materials that we have. I know that some of you are here in Baltimore or in Washington, D.C., and you can pick up materials at our Baltimore campus at the library annex, or you can pick up materials at the Frary Library, or you can pick up materials at our Welch Library if you are downtown. And if there's something that we do not have, you can get it through interlibrary loan, whether that be a book or whether that be an article that you might want. So for those of you who are not in Baltimore or DC, there's a few different things you can do. One, if you are in a city that has one of our IB Plus partners, you can actually go to one of those IB Plus partners. So for example, Columbia University, University of Pennsylvania, Brown, Cornell, Duke, MIT, Princeton, Stanford, University of Chicago. Any of these libraries are able to be borrowed from. So you can go into those libraries and borrow something from them. And you can also have our books shipped to them. Otherwise, what you can do is, if you are not near one of those schools, what you can do is you can ask us to see the table of contents and the index for a specific book that we might have, and then we will digitize the pages that you might need. So if you're ever in need of a specific book, often Google Books has an overview with the index and the table of contents. And if you just say, I would really like chapter 3 or 4 of this book, we can digitize that. We will not digitize a full book. And unfortunately, we do not ship full books to you, but we can get you the pages that you need. So I'm going to actually click on this now, and I'm going to go to the library homepage and show you that Catalyst is our everything search. So while many people use Google Scholar, you should note that Google Scholar does not have everything in it. And Catalyst, which is our search, actually has quite a bit of information within it. And so if I just do, I'm just going to do a quick search. You can see that I have articles in there, I have books in there, and I have a whole bunch of other things in here, book chapters. And this is what I was talking about, where there's actual chapters of books that are just available online. And what I would suggest when you're searching in our library catalog is that you always include the results beyond Johns Hopkins collections. Because what you're going to find is there'll be things that we maybe don't own, but you'll be able to request through that interlibrary loan feature. There's videos in here. There's all kinds of things in here. And you can limit by date. Some of you may be looking at older things. Some of you may be focusing on 2020 and forward. So be aware that all of our databases, except a very few databases, are loaded in here. The other thing that you should know is that the newspapers search, which searches many, many, many newspapers, is a completely different part of our Catalyst Library catalog. So if I'm going to search in newspapers and I put in measles, and I'm spelling it wrong. How do we spell measles? If I spell it wrong, it's not going to come. I'll find it, right? Measles. Oh my goodness. You'd think I didn't have a master's degree. So measles in Texas, you're going to see that these are coming from newspapers. So the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, and you'll be able to get all of those online. So that is the beginnings of doing searching. But if you're looking for a specific database or you want to look more specifically, you can look at all of the different databases that we have by subject. So for example, let's say you wanted to look at law and you wanted to see, well, what databases do we have that are our legal databases? We've put in some core databases, and then you can click on different pieces of this that you might go to look at specifically case law. And so all of the different things with case law. And so we have databases by subject for every single subject there is. If you're not finding your subject, contact your liaison. And so we've tried to classify things in there that will make it easier for you to find things. The other place that I would highly suggest that you look is in research guides. And this is where your librarian can be very helpful. They've gone through and they've curated. We've gone through and we've curated resources that you can use to find the information that you might need. So for example, if I go into film studies, I'm trying to pick something from all different areas. I can look at the Film and Media Studies Guide, and you can see that there is information about finding films, information about the film industry, and every single guide has information about citing sources. So I'm going to click on that citing sources guide, and you can see that there is how to cite in Chicago style, MLA style, and then using citation tools, which we'll talk about. So within these guides, you're going to find information that's going to be useful to you. And we've curated these so that if we go into a specific area, for example, communication or journalism, that you'll find the things that are relevant to that specific area. I also wanted to point out the newspapers guide again, because where is it? N-N-O. I think it's in how to. In how to? Newspapers. Where is the newspapers guide? When in doubt.
Yeah, no, it was there in the section you were in.
Was it? News and
Yeah.
newspapers. There you go. I also want to point out the newspapers guide. Thank you, Rebecca. Because we have a number of newspapers that you can look at the web versions of these newspapers, including the Baltimore Banner, which is our new newspaper of record, the Baltimore Sun, the Financial Times, New York Times, Stat Plus, Wall Street Journal, and Washington Post. There are a lot of other places to get newspapers, and I know that a lot of these classes use news sources, so I wanted to make you aware of this newspaper guide and where you could find the different newspapers. So that's a little bit about our library homepage. And from there, I already talked to you a little bit about our research guides. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about searching. Now, I had done a quick search within our Catalyst. And when you start searching, and you have a research topic in mind, it's really important that you think about that topic in a way that's going to make it into a question so that you can answer that question with the resources that you're finding. Also, because if you're doing research, you're advancing the research in your field, right? So you want to ask yourself a question, how am I going to change what's going on in my field? What am I going to do to make that a better field? So I always suggest that you have an organized structure of key terms. And when I say key terms, I like to use the term concepts, because not only are you using a specific term, you're using a full concept. And so you want to keep track of your tools in order to not be going back and doing the same thing over and over. Also, because those terms are going to change. And as you do that and you keep track of, maybe I'm starting out with voting, oh, but I really want to use elections. So as you do that, you keep track of those terms. What terms have I used? What terms do I want to introduce? That's going to result in more results and better results. And your search is going to be dynamic and changing. And what I mean by that is your paper topic or research question that you might be asking for your paper is also probably going to change, because you may get out there and say, well, I really want to focus on this particular thing. So really pay attention to, well, what am I doing and how is this going to change the way the world looks at things? And how can I bring something new into it? And so it may be dynamic and changing, and then use what you find to find what you really need. So I'll talk more about that in a bit. So research questions should address a specific issue. They should be researchable and given within the time constraints that you have, and they should have an impact on the field. So are you writing policy? Are you trying to bring something to the government that will make a change within the area that you're trying to write policy on? Are you creating a new branding strategy? Are you bringing something out there in film that's going to make the world a better place? So really, what is the impact and then brainstorm. So make your search into a question, as I said, break it into concepts. So as I said, voting or elections, felons or criminals, and then the idea of, what am I trying to say here? Those little asterisks there are endings. So voted, voting, voter. If you put that little asterisk, and this works in Google as well as all of our databases, you can have any ending that appears. And then with the quotation marks, if you use quotes around 2 or more words, it becomes a phrase. And this especially works really well within Google Scholar, because what it does is it pushes that phrase to the top and it highlights that whole phrase for you. So I find it's really nice to be able to use those quotes around things. Not quotes, yeah, quotes. And then separate your concepts onto different search rows if your database offers an advanced search feature. So that's the way I like to look at that. All right, so here's a little example again of Catalyst. Different things that you can do. Books. Is it available at offsite storage? In order to get the offsite storage stuff, or if you want to save results, you can sign in with your JET ID. And from there, you'll be able to save results. You'll be able to export results into a citation manager. You'll be able to create citations. You'll be able to set up an alert to get emails on any new results that come out. So there's so much you can do with this sign-in feature. So I wanted you to be aware of that. Again, this is just in the Catalyst and just making you aware of that. So Google Scholar and the Lean Library extension. So when you are using Google Scholar, and I'm just going to go back to here and go to scholar.google.com. The first thing you want to do the first time you use Google Scholar is you want to go into your settings. And when you go to your settings, you'll see this library links. And you can see that because I'm logged on through our VPN, or if you're on campus, Johns Hopkins should automatically appear. If it doesn't, type in Johns Hopkins, click on Save, and you'll go back to Google Scholar. And here's another class that I did on texting and long distance relationships. And we took a look at these results. You can see I've got over 102,000 results. I might want to limit that to more recently, and I can take a look at these, and you can see it now says find it at Johns Hopkins Libraries. Other things that it does is when you find one good article, remember when I said use what you find to find what you really need? You have this cited by. So that means this article, which was published in 2021, 61 people have cited this article. That means those people said, wow, this is a really good article. I want to use it writing my article. So if you watch those and you pay attention to it, what you'll find is more articles. So if I go into those 61 results, you can see that those results are going to be similar to the one I was looking at. So when you find that, what you're going to be able to do is look at more. You can see 703 people cited that one. Probably a really good article, right? And then I can just go in and I can find it at Johns Hopkins Libraries, which will take me into our Catalyst search, which will take me into our article. So you can see here, and I can go to my article. So the other thing I wanted to tell you about was the Lean Library extension. And Lean Library, when I turn it on, which you only want to do when you're doing scholarly research, what it does is it takes a look to see if we have access to a specific article. And what it will do is pop up and it will take a look to see, and it will say this article is available to anyone. Now, if I go down to another one, let's take a look at this one. I'm just kind of going through like you would be going through and seeing if these articles are available. So I go here and it says loading. It's going to say that it's brought to you by Johns Hopkins. I can almost guarantee it because it already says it right up there. But so what this is doing is it's saying, okay, this article is available to you. This article is saying, yeah, your library provides access. If we did not have access to it, you could do an interlibrary loan right through Lean Library. So it makes it really practical to be able to do that because sometimes these find it buttons won't be there. Another thing that you can do with Lean Library is, do you see this subscribe to table of contents? What that allows you to do is take a look at that journal and they will send you an email with the table of contents of that journal every month. So it's a great way of keeping up to date with your specific journals that you want to be reading in your field. So it's really practical. So that's going to be in the PowerPoint. The New York Times is available, as I said, for free. This is the Lean Library extension and then the Google Scholar. So I would suggest using both of those. We have a database called Sage Research Methods, which I think is one of the best databases that we have because it has all of these different things in there. It tells you how to do research. So if you have to dig deep into how do I create a survey or what is the best research method for political science, blah, blah, blah. What you can do is you can go through this and it will look at your subject area and it will look at the different research methods that are available for your subject area. And it will have tons of information for you. It takes you step by step and asks you questions about, about your research. So it asks, what methods should I choose? How is this method fit into my subject area? What are the ethics on this method? And it will answer those questions. So it makes you think about those questions that you might not think about asking yourself. And then it answers those questions for you. So it's a really great database to look at, and you can find it in our databases list. And this is just an example. So for example, if I wanted to do qualitative interviewing, I could choose elite interviews and I could go in and look at, well, what is an elite interview and how do I use elite interviews? I have no idea what an elite interview is. But I wanted next to talk to you about citation software. And I really think that it makes your life much easier because it allows you to collect references into your own library that's saved to your device or online. You can add your own notes to the individual references PDFs, and that can be downloadable. You can attach these to a bibliography. It will create your bibliography in the citation style that you want. and you can sort things into groups, and it just makes life much easier. And I just want to take a second to open up the Zotero and show you really quickly what that looks like. So here I have a few different folders in my bibliography. And you can see if I click on one of these, what I have is all of the information about that particular article. There's an extension so that if I'm interested in this, I can go to the Zotero, the Mendeley, or the RefWorks extension, and it will import that into my folder. So you can see I just imported this particular article into my folder. And if I wanted to make a bibliography with all of these articles, I could create a bibliography. If I wanted to do Chicago Manuals style, 18th edition, I can print this out, or I can save as HTML, and hopefully that will pop up. I don't usually do it that way. Well, I'm just going to do it this way. I create a bibliography, I copy it to my clipboard, I open Microsoft Word, and I paste it in, and there is my Chicago style. I can also use it from here, and I can type my paper and add citations from my bibliography. I can go into individual articles within my bibliography, and as you can see, I've made some lovely editing to this. And it just makes life much easier as you are bringing these into your specific folders, and you're able to organize yourself, and you're able to make your own libraries. So life is easier this way. You'll have your papers for your whole career too. So that just gives you an example of how easy it is. Add your bibliography and boom, right there. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about is our data services department, and I am not the data queen. So I usually read this slide out. So the data services department will help you find data. They will help you locate and access open and licensed data. And they do have Johns Hopkins Libraries data grant that you can apply for if you need specific data. They will help you use data. So they offer workshops on basic coding skills in R and in Python. They offer workshops on data cleaning and wrangling, working with geospatial data. So I was thinking about, like, with the measles epidemic, if you wanted to look at every county in Texas and look at where did the measles epidemic happen in the different counties, you could do a map of Texas with all the different counties and have different colors for different levels of measles epidemics. Just so that's the kind of geospatial data that you can work on. They'll help you manage your data. So how to write a data management plan, best practices for data management. And if you're working with human subject data, if you're doing surveys of people or that kind of thing, they'll help you with de-identifying that. And they'll offer you consultations on data management related issues. They'll help you visualize. So like I was just talking about with those geospatial visualizations, or maybe you just need help with those charts and graphs in R and Python. They'll help you design those effective ones. And then if you do need to share out or if you want to share out your data when you're done doing your research, we have a JHU data archive, or they'll help you find your discipline-specific repository. So they're really great people, and they work with us as well as the medical campuses. So they do a lot of work for helping everybody out with their data. And I think that's just about it. If you have questions, note that you can contact your liaison, or you can contact the support. We have a chat service that is open from 10 in the morning until 6 at night, 5 days a week. Otherwise, you can send an email, or you can send a text, and we will get back to you. And usually, if you want to set up a meeting, you can also directly contact your liaison. And from there, you can move forward with that. So I didn't go highly in depth about searching within the databases. So if you do need more help with that, if you're lost, please, as I said, we are here to serve you and help you and get you through the hard parts of finding those secondary resources for your classes. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Joanne. This was all really great information. I will say I would have loved to have all of this when I was in grad school. So I'm very glad to see all that our Hopkins students can use to be successful in their classes. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. Like we said, this will be available on our Canvas site for you to look at any time. And please make sure you do reach out to Joanne and her team if you need any support. But if for some reason you forget of who to talk to, where to go to for library services, you can always contact me and my team at AAP Student Services at j2.edu, and we can get you connected to the library as well. But then with that, I don't think we have any questions from the crowd. So thank you all for being here again. And Joanne, thank you for your time this evening. And yeah, hope everyone is well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.